Welcome to Factorio Masterclass. My name is Nilaus, and this is the series of tutorials and guides here on YouTube guiding you through the game and trying to cover all aspects of the game to help you become better as an engineer. These guides usually originate in my Let's Plays or in my Twitch streams, so if you want to join, for example, my Twitch streams, that's over at twitch.tv/Nilaus, and you're very welcome to drop by. I'm streaming Factorio on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. Central European Time, so hope to see you there. Today's episode will continue the series that we've been working through on endgame science, and the only endgame science we have remaining is the white science, the rockets, the space science, and it's going to be slightly different this episode because there's going to be the designs will be much simpler, so I don't really need to go through the design in detail, but there are certain parameters and things that I want to cover, and that's what we're going to focus on. So the first thing what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have the rocket silos to actually launch the rockets and get that back. This is in an endgame content, and that's basically where you will have everything coming in on trains, presumably, and then firing off, and then probably bring it up by trains as well. We will have low density structures, rocket controllers, and rocket fuel being built, and those will also go into, but I think that bears mentioning the start here. So all of my other designs are focused on 1,300 science per minute, and that is, each of these rocket launches gives us 1,000 science, so it's 1.35 science per minute that we have to execute. So I've built these things. This is basically saying, what are the ingredients we need for one, well, rocket launch? And you can see here, because of the productivity, it's 714 of each of the ingredients, but plus the satellite actually takes some low density and some rocket fuel. So that's if we want to launch one rocket. Now, if I want to launch for 1,350, then all I've done is I have taken the numbers from before and multiplied by 1.35. That's what we have here. Then we are going to reduce it to something that's more manageable on a second basis. This is for 10 seconds. So imagine this one says 225, but that's actually 22.5 per second. But decimal numbers are not really working here. So that's what we have. This is rounded down to 0. And so you can see here that it's going to be the total numbers. If we hover over and look to the right, it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be minus for this one as well, and minus for, and this one is also minus there. Right, so now we can look over to the right hand side and see it's minus 160, minus 16, and it's minus 17.1 and 18.3. Those are the numbers we need to produce for in order to launch enough rockets to generate 1,350 science per minute. Now each of these, and this is a super important aspect of this, and normally it doesn't matter, if you put modules all the way around, which is 2 more modules than what I have in this configuration. I like this configuration more than I like the one with 2 more rockets, or 2 more modules. If you have with the full modules, so you module the hell out of it, you can still not launch 1,000, you can still not get 1,000 rockets, 1,000 science per minute. It is just not possible. And the reason it's not possible is because the maximum speed you can get, this one is now 9.4, but if I wanted to do something like this and build it over here, and that one, how did that one get one down? Oh, right here. If I'm looking at these numbers for that one, the maximum speed you can get, you cannot squeeze in more modules than this, and it'll give you 10.4. If you have 10.4 speed, then it's still obviously going to take some time to craft 71 times this product, 71.4 times this product, and that time will be at a maximum that will be at least 20.6 seconds, 20.62 seconds. And the actual animation for launching a rocket is going to take 40.33 seconds. So no matter how you twist and turn it and optimize without mods, you cannot get more than 984 science per minute from one rocket launch facility. And that's just the way it is. So that's worth keeping in mind, that no matter how fast you do it, you cannot get 1,000 science. So what I could do, if I was being really strict about my 22.5, then I would do what you see here. That one, This is now speed 4.4 plus speed 4.4. This in total will generate exactly 1,350 signs per minute, or corresponding to 22.5 or half a belt per second. But I don't want to do that. So let's bring them back. Let's bring them back here, because I think that if you're in a position where you are launching rockets and you're building it big, then let's make it as efficiently as possible. So let's fire this one up and just have a look at what is going to work. I'll set these to automatic, and there'll be an infernal noise from the launch here because I can't really move further away. They are just way too noisy. I need to stay far away. All right. Well, they are launching. And when they are off, okay, quiet now. So what I've done here is I've built a tiny little buffer here. Wow, it is a buffer. And, ow, clonk, 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 it's very, very loud. And they will be put out here. And what I have done as well, you can see the red wire. The red wire is monitoring the content of all the boxes in total. And you can see this lists how much I have. What I've then done is I am setting these inserters up so that they will only launch when the content of the boxes is 0. The reason why, you must have a condition on these on the insertion, because otherwise if this one decides to launch another rocket, then it cannot exit, or at some point it won't be able to exit it, and then it'll be stuck here as an output, and if you keep launching, you just destroy space signs. That's not very good. Destroying space signs, not good. So you should always have a condition here that controls, so you don't just keep launching and then end up actually destroying rockets. I have this one in this case. Yep, they're not going to launch though. The good advantage is that they will also synchronize their launches when you have this, and I guess that we all prefer to have synchronized launches. They just look so much better when you synchronize things. Okay, I am not going to launch them because that is an infernal noise. Who knew that rockets would be so loud and noisy? So what you need is you need to build some satellites. You can have one satellite building for many machines or many rocket silos, but I really prefer this way since you're getting the things in here anyway. Then this is just a setup. It doesn't have to be like this. One thing though that I would recommend is, as I move away and then look at the map, I have put this thing in, and when I made the power switch for the circuit masterclass, I said I can't really think of a good use. I have found a good use, and that's the fact that you can switch on from the map view. You can switch on the power switch from the map view, and if you're out and about and don't want the base to keep working or keep launching rockets, or you, for example, when you're sort of transitioning to a megabase, you might want to lay off the science because you want to redirect more of your resources towards building more modules. And in that case, it's easy from the map view just to go back here, flip it off, and then leave it off until you want to go again. So that's something you can do from the map view, but you can't do that you can't enter circuit conditions in map view, but you can do it for power switches. That's why I think there's a purpose for having power switches hooked up to your rocket launch facility exclusively. So that is that part. That's the rocket silo. What I want to do beyond this is take a look at the rocket controls, the low density structures, and the rocket fuel as well to get that up and running. We're going to start with the low density structures, and the reason why I built it to this particular size, let's have a look at some of the key aspects of this. So if we zoom in, it's not a very advanced build. If you've been following my masterclasses, you will recognize this pattern here. And if you haven't, well, you really should. And aside from this, it's just 3 inputs in. The only thing here is you want to make sure that you get enough copper in. So one of the things that you want to monitor is how much copper is one column consuming. I want this per second, so I'm more here. This takes 88 per second, which is an absolutely brilliant number because that's basically 2 full blue belts. 2 full blue belts is 90. So by consuming 88 on this one, you're basically taking full belts in. A full belt in here also means it's going to be half a belt of plastic and less of steel. Confirm. Like this. 22 plastic, and that's pretty much half a belt. So you need half a belt in for each of these, plus you need 6 belts in this case. If I look at the total amount, what we have for the whole thing is 18.4, and I copied this little box here. This one is not the correct one. Great. It's actually this one I'm supposed to be copying. Here. Yes, that one. This says 183, which means it's 18.3 per second. And what I'm doing is 18.4 per second. So absolutely brilliant recipe. Again, here we have full utilization of the copper belts, and we are having the perfect outbound. So you would want this build not for any of the yellow science. Yellow science is a separate thing, but you want to build this thing for each half a belt you want for the space science. Very simple build. You can find it in the blueprint, and the blueprint is of course attached in the description below, so do check it out if you want to add this to your own build. And of course, with all of these builds, they are perfectly tileable, so knock yourself out depending on how big you want the trains coming in to unload. Moving on to the next one. This is the rocket control unit. Also a very simple build. It has a slight bit of complexity, but that's all there is to it. So here we have the red and green coming in to make speed modules. Speed modules are going to be sharing the belt with the blue circuits, and they go up here, and then it's just input here. So again, this build is simply too simple for me to actually bother with going in and designing it in detail. Again, perfectly tileable. And what we are interested in is the total amount. Nothing of this here will be used in particular high quantities. Again, all of this, but it delivers 16.47 per second. And what I have here is 1160, which corresponds to 16 per second. So I'm producing 16.4 and I need 16. Brilliant. Slight overproduction, and it's a nice even build here. And also what we want to see is what is the balance between the speed modules. The speed modules here, there is an ever so slight deficit of speed modules, but it's definitely not to offset the 4 to 7 additional oversupply of rocket control units. So no problem at all, but it explained why right in the beginning there was a short deficit on this one, that it wasn't getting anything. It's going to happen once in a while that the last one here is going to wait for just a little while. Not a problem though. So that's rocket control units. As always, it's in the blueprint if you want it, and of course it's perfectly tileable as well. See, now they're staffed a bit, and they'll be unstaffed in just a while. The last part has actually been causing more problems than you would expect, and just before we dive into this, let me just take this brief moment to thank the patrons who are supporting the channel. It's really great to see that there are so many of you who choose to support, and well, I've mentioned it before, I want to give all of this for you so you can use it. And if someone wants to support the channel and the work I do here, then I very much appreciate it, and luckily there are a few people who do that. So thank you very much for the people who are supporting, and if you want to support, there is a link in the description below, and probably also popping on the screen somewhere. So the reason why I said this was more complicated, it's not actually very complicated, because what it basically takes is it takes light oil in and puts solid fuel out, and at some point it takes the solid fuel in plus a bit more light oil, and then outputs some rocket fuel. And I'm just sharing the belt here between the two because why not? The one thing though that is the reason is that, are you really going to send in this amount of light oil? And if you are, how are you controlling the balance between the light oil and the petroleum? At this point, well, it's much easier if you, for example, take a plastic build where you just need petroleum, because you can crack everything down to petroleum, but you can't crack everything sort of up to light oil. So basically, if this is using only petroleum, then I have to make the assumption that you will find a use for your petroleum, and the petroleum will never run out. So that's on you. Sorry, that's something that you have to figure out. I have my design, my blueprint up here for oil refining. This one's pretty good, and it will balance out. This is the one I always use, and if you want more of them, you can put 2 of them on top of each other. Oh, actually, I was about to get excited with the new rotate, but then you can't rotate, or you can't flip refineries. So what this one will do is it will prioritize the light oil, so you can take the light oil out here, but you need, of course, to consume the petroleum. Let's have a look at the numbers, because this is quite a bit of oil we need in here. This is 17.29. Whoa, 17.29? Didn't I just calculate it to 17.3? Oh, right. Yeah, it says that is also the wrong one. Let's go copy the right one here. That one. It was 17.1. Ooh, I thought I'd made a mistake. All right, so 17.1 is the amount of light of rocket fuel I need. So this one is producing 17.3, so that's good. Let's go back and look at it. I was just worried that I'd made a mistake. 17.29, that is good. And here you can see there's a slight surplus of the solid fuel, so everything will be running. But this one is using every second 1079 light oil. If I look at this one, this is producing, if I disable the production, the light oil cracking to petroleum, then I am left with a total of 1001 light oil per second. So this thing here can almost feed this. And I think that's actually really nice, because I would actually have imagined that you'd need way more than this. But you have to remember that if you are using this, then you absolutely have to find a way to use the 794. The reason why my alternative build for this one was basically making sure that I would crack things to light oil as much as possible, but then I would use the surplus for the petroleum, and that meant it had to be self-balancing between the petroleum. So some of these solid fuel producers would be petroleum based, and then would sort of self-balance. In the end, I wasn't really happy with it, because either one of two things actually happened. Either it would prioritize the petroleum, and that meant it would consume petroleum instead of, which means it would crack light oil to petroleum in order to use petroleum for solid fuel, which is inefficient. Alternatively, it would prioritize the light oil, and then I would simply not use enough the petroleum, and the petroleum would get stuck. And those are the kind of the two cases that I was sort of alternating between. And in the end, I was like, you know what? I'm going to use so much petroleum no matter what I do, that the petroleum can always be exported to plastic or sulfuric acid. So maybe we don't really need to bother with that. So that's why I decided to make a pure one that only takes light oil in. If you want to make it different, well, change some of these and do some shuffling around. It's not super easy, and let it run for at least a couple of hours to make sure that it's actually balanced correctly. So that brings us to all of these three builds. This one is, it was 17.3 rocket fuel. Over here we have 16.4 rocket control units, and here we have 18.3. Yeah, 18.3, 18 point, a bit more, I think. A low density structure, all of it gets combined, preferably through trains, into at least two, or at more than one, so at least two locations. Whether you want to fully module them like this or not, that's totally up to you. And we're just going to launch this one just to see that this one is getting emptied. I prefer to do it like this, so that they go in on the same belt. You can also drag it on one belt, but honestly, then you have these two working on delivering a half a belt, and then you have to build another one for the other half belt, depending on, of course, on the size of your base. But I wanted everything to be possible to design it towards the 22.5 signs per second, because that's where we are. So with this completed, now we've actually done all of the signs for endgame as well. And that means if you want to make a big megabase, I have all the smelting, I have all the circuits, I have all the science, and I have basically everything you need to, oh my god, I can't hear myself, everything you need to make a megabase, all the ingredients. And so the question becomes, what are we gonna do next? Well, obviously, for my Let's Play series on YouTube, I'm using that. For my Let's Play series, that's the reverse megabase. For my Let's Play on Twitch, which is a true megabase, which is going to be 1 million signs per hour, and I'm going to have to do something even more extreme than what we've done here. And that means we might go into that, something like train-to-train, direct loading, and that kind of thing. That might be one of the things. But let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see for future episodes of the masterclass. I'd like to continue to do these, but of course, it depends on having good ideas. So throw your good ideas at me. I love to hear them. Some of the things that I find difficult, you might not find difficult, and some of the things that you might find difficult, I don't even realize that it's difficult. So that is that's why I need you guys to help me on this. So if you've enjoyed it, hit the like button. And of course, if you for some reason haven't subscribed, then consider subscribing so you can keep up with the content on the channel and it'll pop up in your recommended feed from time to time. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, stay effective.